Rosann, we've known each other for 3 decades.
Yes, a long time.
And you have been a professional counselor.
As you have been a professional counselor, how many people have we known in Hong Kong?
Yes, quite a lot.
So many different people.
And so many changes.
And that's why we want to think about women now and women then, and how women have changed over these years.
That must be very interesting.
Yes.
And it covered different generations.
Always.
Well, if they're interested in what we are talking about, how are they going to find us?
You're going to find us Tuesday night, 9 o'clock, PsychoAlchemy. We are Women Now and Then.
See you there.
Well, hello everyone. Welcome back to Women Now and Then.
Yes.
And this is Series 13. We are just delighted to have done 12 episodes and to hear so much from people who've been listening and watching. So we want to say thank you.
Thank you.
We want to say thank you for your very kind attention. We want to review a little bit where we've been over 12 in the episodes together. And then we're moving on.
Yes.
The topic for today is the woman alone. Aloneness. Now, if you haven't had time to review all 12 series, we can just tell you, you've missed sessions on identity, on women's bodies, on money, on friends, the importance of the mother, the importance of the father, more about men. Questions keep coming up about men. Moving on in life, so over the generations, specific issues of those times, women's health,
Our home.
our home, yes. We talked about the physical things,
Physical things.
what stuff means to us. We even talked about the fabrics that stuff is made from. And then how do you make a house a home? What's going on there? It's been interesting.
Yes, yes.
been
And we
challenging.
also talk about how to tidy up ourselves.
Oh,
Our
yes.
emotions.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, what's inside.
That was so important.
Yes.
So important. We've had some interesting feedback. Some of you are delighted to say, I like the Chinese lady.
Thank you.
I like the lady with the white hair. All right. So we have differing points of view. We have had a couple in France, a couple, a man and a wife together, watching the series saying, we like to watch it together. We've had comments from men
Yes, yes.
on how much they enjoy learning about women. And really fine, one man from, I think it's the state of New York, he listens as a podcast while he's driving on the highway.
Oh.
So we're helping him to understand his wife. And we had a wonderful grandmother who said, some of the conversations are everyday things. They jumble in my head. But when I hear Rosann and Dorothy, I know it's not a jumble. Life experiences.
Yes.
Oh, so I think the program means different things to different people.
Yes.
We certainly have enjoyed doing it.
Oh, yeah.
We certainly have enjoyed it.
Yes.
And we're very thankful we
Yes.
could do this.
Yeah, to me it's a blessing because I've known Rosann for almost 40 years,
Yes.
right?
Whoa,
And we
yeah.
have been talking about doing things together.
Together.
And finally we did something together and really enjoy it. It's
Yes.
really like just a girl talk.
It's girl talk.
Yeah.
But maybe that's why people like it.
Yeah.
Because they're part of this flowing conversation. Not a lecture, not an argument. Girl talk.
Girl talk.
It's girl talk.
And
yeah.
we will try to put in some of our professional ideas.
Of course, we've tried to do that.
Because Rosann has been a professional counselor for so many years, and compared to her, I'm a relatively less experienced.
Yeah,
But we
yeah.
do see a lot of women, and
Oh,
that we
yes.
have all the topics we have select are actually real everyday issues that
yeah.
women now and then do experience.
It's a reflection of our caseloads. But as you know, we're very careful on confidentiality.
Yes.
And so we move on.
Yes.
We move on.
And we decided to use this last episode to talk about, women being alone.
Yes.
Yeah, and I would have to admit, I see more and more women these days, whether they want it or they choose it or they have to, they become alone. Right. And some of them enjoy every moment of it.
Yes.
And some of them are still struggling. And they
Yes.
sometimes tell me they are being forced to stay alone. If they
Whoa.
can have a choice, they would rather have someone next to them. But somehow they just miss the opportunity, or maybe relationship that happened and didn't work out, and now
Yeah.
they are all alone. So, today we're going to talk about alone.
Well, you remember, we started with identity.
Yes.
Do women feel an identity because they are attached to someone or very meaningful? If you're a parent and you have young children,
Yes.
or if you're a more experienced person and you have to take care of an older person. So we often see women connected.
Yes.
So when we say women alone, it sometimes goes, well, is that right or not right?
Yeah.
You raise an important issue. It's most significant to realize that at no time in human history have there been so many women alone. From earliest times, women have been pregnant rather easily.
Yeah.
So as soon as you start, you have your menstruation, a few years later, you probably have a baby.
Yes.
Or 2 or 3 or 4. And then the older woman, who is essentially the grandmother roles,
Right.
they help take care of the younger ones. So women and babies, women and older people, women and babies, women and older people, women and babies, forever. It was the 1960s. Now that's not very long ago in human history.
Yes.
That the birth control pill comes along, and it's possible for women to regulate how many times they will be pregnant.
Yes.
Now that's all very interesting, except when we get to the years 2000, the new millennium, women seem to be having a choice about whether or not they're going to have children at all. Never mind planning a pregnancy. But we now have thousands of women opting to have life on their own. So maybe this question of connectedness changes. What does being connected mean? So we have young women, certainly those under 30, choosing not to marry. The statistics are very high on that.
Yes.
But we also have women age 50 plus with marriages separating after the children have grown. So that means women are alone. About half the households in many developed, can we say, large cities, cities in the or suburban areas around them, half of the households are adults living alone.
Yes. Yes.
And there are more women than men, and so we have women living alone. So that's why I picked this topic, alone. We need to explore this.
Yes. And one thing is, we always have to remember, being alone doesn't mean you have to be lonely.
Oh yes.
Right. It's a totally different thing. And I can see some of the information we used to have, or we used to quote on, are talking about, well, if you are all alone, you are going to suffer from all these disease. Very likely you have heart attack, your blood pressure will go much higher than normal. But those are statistics based on the past.
Based on the past.
Because I think when like people my mother's age or even younger, we were being told you have to grow old in a family. You need to have relatives, your children, your grandchildren close to you. But I think in the last 40, 30 years, this whole concept has changed.
The last 2 decades.
Oh, at least.
Last 2 to 4 decades.
Right.
Yes.
Totally changed. And even though some will still insist, sure, I want my relatives to have someone next to me, right? But then we will see a lot of people begin to realize this has been quite unrealistic.
Yes.
If family can afford it, like maybe some middle class or even better, well-off family, their children grow up and they have a place to live, similar to
Yes.
overseas in the United States. So they no longer live with their parents. The parents no longer live with their grandparents, right?
That's right.
So that already create a mood. I don't need to live with my parents because my parents don't live with their grandparents. So I think this already gives a very different impression
Yes.
that we need to have someone next to us. But I don't know about the Western world. But in Hong Kong, people like my age, we have a saying, secretly. The key thing is, if we want to grow old and in a very nice way, it would be so much better if we have a very reliable domestic helper.
Okay.
I think that is
Yes.
more important than
Wow.
having a spouse, because your spouse might have another relationship and then say bye-bye, and you
Oh.
will be...
Oh, that is so. Now you're talking about Hong Kong. Tell me, what is this phrase "leftover women"? What does that mean? What
Leftover.
is leftover women?
Well,
What-
actually, that's pretty mean. It's like we always think that women, we used to have a belief, Chinese women should get married before 30.
before age 30.
Before, actually used to be before 25, then before 28.
Okay.
But I think in the last 5 years, people were saying, well, better before 30. 30 is a big thing. All right. So
Okay.
if you don't get married before 30, meaning you still have to live at home under your parents' home, so you are the
Oh.
leftover woman. And it's quite mean when they say
Okay, so
something like that.
Do you say it directly to a woman, or is it something you talk behind her back?
Behind their back.
Oh,
And usually
not good.
what they said is at Chinese New Year, and if you are not married, you can still receive the red pocket from the older generations, right? And they will usually give you the red pocket if you are not married, and then say, okay, next year I won't be giving you, okay? So don't be the leftover girl at home.
We better explain what is the red packet.
Okay,
Explain
Chinese
it.
New Year,
Yeah.
there's a tradition. All the older generation, your auntie, uncle, grandma, or whatever parents, have to prepare some money, put it into a red pocket, and give to those people that are younger than you
Okay.
or not married. Okay,
Oh,
but
oh.
a lot of tradition has changed. Some people will not give to married people. Once you get married, you don't get it.
Okay.
But parents will still give to children, right? But
Yes.
if you are just an auntie, you don't need to give to married nephews. But
Oh.
if your nephews are single, you still have to give it to them.
And no packets to older people?
Oh yeah, it's different.
Oh, what is that?
That is more like a New Year gift. So it's not. It's a very different meaning. It's like you respect them, and New Year they have to spend a lot of money. So this
Yes.
is more like a special gift of money. But when older people give to young, it's more like a tradition. So
Isn't that
if you go out to a restaurant, there's a waiter younger than you, you can
Give,
also
yes.
give,
Yes.
right? But you can imagine if you're 30, you're receiving it 35, 40, 45, 50. Like one of my cousin, he is
Yeah.
58. And every year
He's
on the
not
first
married?
oh no, he's not. Every year on the first day of New Year, he will come to visit my parents, right?
Oh,
And
oh,
when
oh.
my father was still alive, he would go out and bring a red pocket and give to, okay, White Kid, that's his name. White Kid, no, not anymore, okay? Not anymore, okay? Next year,
Yes.
bring a girlfriend. My father had been saying that for almost 40 years. and
Oh
he said,
my goodness.
Dad, don't say that. It's kind of embarrassing for him,
Yes,
right?
yes, yes,
And
yes,
the kid
yes.
was so funny. He said, oh, yes, I hear you. I'll make an effort. That's what they will respond. Yeah.
Now, what I hear about married, unmarried
Uh-huh.
is I have 3 married daughters.
Yes.
But the friends,
Mm.
their friends, when I see the mothers,
Mhm.
if the mother has an unmarried daughter, she says to me, how did you marry off those girls? How did they get married? You see my daughter, she's lovely. She's 32 years old. We have to find her a husband. So me and then 2 other women who are a generation older are thinking, how many men do we know? Why is this girl not married? So there's no packets, but there's a lot of talking
Yeah.
among a generation of would-be grandmothers saying, we have to, this girl, she
Yeah, yeah.
can't be alone.
Right.
She's very
Yes.
nice. She's very bright.
yes,
she
yes,
has a
yes.
good job. Why is she not married? Her mother goes, you know why she's not married? Because she's too smart.
Well,
So
that's true.
There's still, we have these mixed attitudes
Yeah,
going
yeah,
on.
yeah.
In girls want to be independent. They want to get a good job. But then the mother says, you're too smart. You will never get a man.
Yeah, yeah.
Get a man is
Get
something is that something?
It's like a completion. Even
Yes.
you get a good job, you have your own apartment, your life is good. Well, if you don't have a man, you don't have a spouse, something is wrong.
And
Yeah,
yes.
and I think it's still true in Hong Kong. As if something is missing, is something you should be regret. How come you don't have a spouse, right? And you remind me of one thing. My mom is a very sociable woman.
Yes.
So every time if there's certain occasion like this, some of her friends will come and say, "Hey, Jenny, you have any candidate?" Yeah. And my mom had been matchmaker for
Really?
many times already, and because she observed, and then she'll try, let me see if Mr. Wong is married or not. And I
Yes.
remember Auntie Amy's daughter is single, maybe I can match them up. So that's the whole deal.
It's truly interesting. When I was in my early 20s,
Yes.
my mother had in mind for me a very sweet man who had recently come to the United States
Yes.
from Italy.
Uh-huh.
And so I didn't know this person at all. Somehow she met him. She invited him to dinner. And I had to have Sunday dinner with this person sitting next to me who my mother already told me she wants me to marry. And he said, okay, he's going to marry me.
Really?
Oh,
Oh my goodness.
so the dinner was very difficult. My mother, delicious soup, wonderful spaghetti and meatballs. And my mother then said, Rosann, you should now go talk to. And I looked at her. And at that moment, this man who was sitting to my right put his hand on my arm
Ooh.
and said, don't worry, Rosann, I will take care of you. My mother fought for me to go to college, was very happy. I was finishing college and I had a job, and here she was arranging
A marriage.
And it was so difficult. It was so difficult. Now, wait, that story is easy. I did finish university, finished graduate school, got married, Then I became divorced. My first marriage ended in divorce. I went back to see my mom and dad. And after the dinner's over and my mother and I are clearing the dishes, she says, what about Dr. So-and-so?
What
And I'm
about?
saying, what about him? And she said, he's still not married. It's been 7 years. He's got a very good job now. He's rising in the hospital. He's a good administrator. You should think about him as a husband. Mom, I have a PhD. I'm working. I'm
Yeah.
teaching at a university.
Yes.
And she says, so?
So?
So I said, but I don't know him. I don't love him.
Okay.
To which she said, love? You can love him after you are married. And that is the first part of our show on alone,
Yes.
being alone. We'll come back soon.
Yeah.